Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to waste anyone's time. I know it's precious. I don't know about you all, but I feel like I am swimming upstream like constantly. It's almost like everything is harder, and somehow we all thought it was going to be a little more convenient, but it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to depend on my friends to help me out if they can't hear. Let's see if I can make sure. So Penny, you just kind of break in. Dave, you too, and Southwest Higher Ed break in as well. So let me just get started real quick. This is Techniques for Beginning Reading Instruction in a Virtual Environment, Session 3. The first session was about management, routines, organizing things digitally. The second session was focused on phonics instruction, and this section is going to be teaching how to do oral reading in a digital environment. I will say that the focus of these presentations are on synchronous virtual instruction, meaning what we are doing right now. People at the same time communicating over the computer using a variety of digital tools. As I've said every time, if you're not a Twitter person, get on Twitter. I'm 51 years old and it wasn't hard for me. And there are so many wonderful ideas out there. There's so much support. Get on Twitter. You can follow me at HAE Mesmer, but there are many other people you can find to follow. Just a little heads up, the School of Education has a hybrid reading specialist program. So if you are interested in getting a reading specialist degree, this hybrid program has been going on for about 6 or 7 years. We do online courses with a weekly virtual meeting in the fall and the spring. So when you're teaching, we do those courses virtually. And then in the summer, we all come to campus for 2 weeks and we connect with each other and we learn. And we also have some fun. We have theme Fridays and go out to lunch and some of those things. So please do contact me. These are different cohorts that we've had, and we've had them from all over the place, Bland County and Botetourt and Franklin and Wise and all kinds of different places. Here's more about that. It's an 11-course strand, and you take from a number of different faculty members. And we don't require a GRE. And we also participate in the Teach Grant, and there are other financial aid supports. All right, infomercial done. Quickly, a real funny picture again. And this one says, I switched from yoga to virtual relaxation techniques. Sorry. Let me get this working, guys. I switched from yoga to visualization on the go relaxation. I picture a world in which all students with discipline problems attend my class online from their homes. So it's kind of funny. We have to be careful of what we wish for, because I'm sure those little online class ventures are proving kind of funny. All right. Next time we're going to do a teacher share. I have one teacher who's going to share, and I'd like to have some others or teacher requests. So the topic is open next week. I really must hear from you. And so if you have any things that you'd really like to know more about, email me at hamesmer@vt.edu or email Penny. This is just a reminder. The idea here is that you, as a competent, strong professional, really are wearing the ruby slippers. You know what it takes to teach children. All you're really doing right now is pivoting, and I'm showing you some tools. So I'm like Glenda on the side, just kind of reminding you that the magic is really on your feet. Don't forget it. and we're doing virtual oral reading for assessment, instruction, and sharing. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to do some concept of word work with RAS, or Reading A to Z projectables. Didn't get to that last time. I'm going to do some oral reading practice using some different texts. Do a little fluency practice with Flipgrid. A few of you did catch on to Flipgrid. I'm really going to encourage you, if you have not tried Flipgrid, you have to get on and give it a try. It's so, so easy. So I'm going to challenge you this week to try to do a Flipgrid. I'll give you another link. I'm going to show you how to do a read and comprehend activity for kind of older kids, maybe second graders, using the app quizzes. And then from 5 to 5:30, we'll have an optional open discussion. You can just stay on if you have questions, and I'll be there. And then I'm going to share a bunch of sources for digital online text that you can use. Okay, so print referencing, concept of word. There is a video explanation of this that I've done. So if you want to share that, it's out there. But what I'm talking about with print referencing and concept of word is I'm really talking about how to do this shared readings thing that you see this teacher doing. And this is essentially when a teacher will have a big book and usually will use a pointer to model the reading process for the kids. So the point is to kind of show them how print works. A big book with large print and a pointer has been used in the past so that the children can see the words, sentences, and punctuations from a distance in a classroom. Now that we are digital, or some of us are, we don't have to have those big books. We can have the screen right up in front of the child. Now, the advantage of that is it gives us something that we couldn't do before. The disadvantage is we do have to kind of make sure we're keeping kids engaged. The teacher is going to be sharing the responsibility of the reading with the children, and she's going to ask for their help as she's reading. And obviously the purpose of this is to try to explain to them how sentences work, that words are collections of letters that are separated by white space, that we put a capital letter at the beginning of sentences, that when we get to the end of one sentence, we have to come back and return sweep. It's being able to point to words and coordinate your voice with the word you're saying. This is Matt. Importantly, this is not real reading. It's not the teacher turning the reading over to the child. If you take these words out of context, they wouldn't be able to read them. They really aren't decoding. It's more about the teacher using this as a way to illustrate the process for children and get their help. There's lots of research. You can take a look at the PowerPoint. I did a little bit myself. Part of this comes from, this is kind of a lesson sequence that is really based on the work of Laura Justice, and it comes from my book, Letter Lessons and First Words. Within that is a series of questions that you would ask children as you are doing a shared reading to help get them focused on how print works. So those questions come in three different flavors. How does print work? If I wanted to read this book, where would I start? What would I point to? Would I even, some children don't know I even should use print. Where do I go next? When I'm at the end of the line, where do I go? The next layer would be teaching children how to use the letters that they're learning. It's very important to make sure that children are not learning letter sounds in a vacuum, right? We want them to learn those and analyze those in an isolated way because that gives them enough way to attend, but we have to bridge that with demonstration of what to do with that. So can you name a letter on this page? Is there a letter in your name? I see the letter that makes the T sound. Can you find it? And you can see that's a great question. The reason that's a great question is the teacher is not saying find the letter T. Find the letter T is not exactly what you do when you read. You really have to know the sound T, and you have to know the symbol that goes with it. So this is a great question in that it's asking the child to associate the T sound with the proper letter or visual symbol. I want to read, how would I start that word? What is the sound? And then you get to concept of word. So this is where a teacher would model how to point to words, then ask the children to do it, etc. Talk about how many letters are in a word like the, how many words are on the page. This is a good place too to contrast long and short words. This illustrates to the child that a longer word in most cases is going to actually look longer, has more syllables, and it actually looks longer. Okay, so this is the 4-day sequence for a shared reading based on Laura Justice's work. Day 1, you would just read the book without pointing, talk about the story, the rhyme, or the repetitive parts. This is very important because you want children to just enjoy it. You want them to get the flow of it. And you don't want to start mechanizing it right away. At the point that they start to get bored with the story, that's when you want to come in with the mechanics of all the different print concepts. Day 2, you read and point, and then you ask the children to read with you as you point. Day 3, you read the book and point, and then you read again and you ask different children to come up and point. And in a digital environment, what you can do is open the mic up and you do the pointing and ask a child to read. Day 4, you would read the book and you would focus on using letters or on capital concept of word. So I am going to demonstrate a little bit of this with a Reading A to Z book, which is a nursery rhyme, and this is a projectable that is on Reading A to Z. And I have it preloaded. I had it all ready to go. There we go. All right. I really like this little format on Reading A to Z. On the left-hand side, there are a number of tools that you can use. There is pens where you can circle things, underline things. And if you want to erase things, you just reset the page and it'll ask you to do that. There's a little text box if you want to. I'm trying to remember what that does. Can't remember what that does. Anyway, there's a highlighter where you can highlight. There are these little stampers, which are kind of cute. If you want to drop those where the words begin and end. You can erase with your eraser, although to me that's a pain in the neck unless you just want to take one part off, and then you can just reset the page. Okay, so day 1 would be just reading through that book. I'll read it real quickly. I'm not going to exactly model this part because I know you know how to read. I'll just talk about quickly what I might highlight with the kids. Little Jack Horner, and I might point out what's going on in the picture, that he has a pie, that he's looking at that pie, that there's steam coming out, he's excited. There he's eating the pie, look, the dog is excited. I might point out that this is telling us that he's moving his body, and so he looks really busy eating that pie. I might point out that like there's a bow here, and maybe it might be a holiday time. I'd read it, Little Jack Horner sat in the corner. I might say, oh, corner Horner, that rhymes, yeah. Talk more about the story here. Stuck in his thumb, kids know the word thumb. Pulled out a plum. I might talk to the kids about what a plum is. That's a small, sweet, juicy fruit that's kind of purple. And they might not know that in this area because I haven't seen a lot of them. So I talk about that, and then I'd finish reading it. And so that's really what we would do day 1. All right, so then day 2, I'm going to read and point. And I'll show you different ways to read and point. And then I would ask the children to read and point with me, okay? My preference is to use the cursor, but you don't always have to do that. So let's read this story. I'm going to point. Little Jack Horner. Here we go. I start right down here. Does anybody know what that word? Little Jack Horner. Now, real quickly, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was pointing, I wasn't doing this. If you can see my cursor, Penny, let me know if they can't see my cursor. I wasn't going Little Jack Horner, right? I wasn't just putting my cursor like in the middle of the word, all doesn't matter, Little Jack Horner. I was putting my cursor at the beginning of the word. I was running my cursor through the word, pause, scoop. I was waiting a few minutes for the kids to kind of catch on and be able to use some initial consonant sound. Jack, break, okay? How you point makes a difference. It's not going to help the kids if you go Little Jack Horner or Little Jack Horner. They have to be able to track it. One thing some teachers like to do is use these little stamps. You could do that. Sat in a corner. And then you can even use those as a way to kind of show the children how many words there are. You could say, oh, each word, each star shows us where a word starts. Sat in a corner. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I would go through the whole book like that with whatever pointing techniques I want to use. And then after doing that, I would ask the kids to read with me, okay? So I'm going to read the first page, and then I'm going to open the mic, and I'm going to ask little Penny McCallum to read the second page for me. So let me read this one, and then Penny, you're going to be up on the next one. Here we go. Little Jack Horner. All right, Penny, you read while I point.
Little Jack Horner.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. And I would go through and open the mics and let different kids help and do that, okay? The third day, they've seen this so many different times, I would say, okay, I'm gonna read the whole thing for you, and then I would see if there was a way I could turn over the pen and ask them to do it and ask them to take more responsibility. Day 4 is where I'm really going to get into a lot of analysis. So we could do lots of different things. Like we could say, let's count. Let's say we're working on L's. Let's try to count L's. Ready? Let's see. Show me with your fingers how many L's you see on this page. Yes, that's right. There's one, and it's a capital L, and it's right here. All right, let's see where else we see. Little Jack Horner. Show me again. How many L's? Yes, there's another one. Little and this capital. Reset that page because I don't want that like that. Sat in a corner. How many L's are on that page? Show me with your fingers. No, there are none. Eating a Christmas pie. Any L's on that page? And I would go on like that. We could also count words. There are lots of different things we could do. One last thing before I kind of wrap this up. One of the most important things, and you know this because you're Virginia teachers, is that when you're teaching concept of word, it's very important to have words that have different multi-syllables in them, right? Because what children have to learn at the later stages of the concept of word is that when I say this word eating, it's one word, but it's a longer word with 2 syllables. And you could even scoop it. Eating a Christmas pie. And then you even ask them, where are the long words? Look, if we say eating, it has two parts, eating. Isn't that different than pie? It's a short word on the page and it's a short word when we say it. Very important though to get kids to make sure that they can see that. All right. Okay, so here's another activity that you can do with a slightly older child. This is oral reading practice with small groups, and this is using Rivet. And Rivet has all kinds of books online that you can use for demonstration and modeling, and I think you have to pay for the kids to have access to them. So I chose this little book, The Fox, and it's kind of somewhat decodable, so I kind of like it because it'd be a good first grade kind of book. Maybe late first grade, maybe January-ish, or I don't know. So the first thing that I would do with any book that I'm reading with the kids is I would preview it myself before I have them read it. And I would be looking probably to make sure that the words in there are lots of high frequency words that they know, as well as words that they can sound out or decode. Now, it's okay if there's some patterns that the child can't fully sound out, or maybe something that they haven't actually been exposed to. It's really interesting. I was working with a group of kindergartners and I was having them read a book and it had still in it, the sound still, and you'll see it in this little video. And they were able to sound that out. So you can have some challenge. I do a book walk, which is where we walk through the book and we just look for word family words. We look for high frequency words. It's not a picture walk. It's not a picture walk. Then we do a teacher supported read where we read it together. Then I would have the kids solo read it, mics off by themselves. And then I would have them maybe do an out of class reread, or I might ask them to read to me around the circle. So just kind of, this is a heads up about how a book walk works. This is a quick little video I'll share of me doing a book walk with a group of kindergartners. And Penny, I'm gonna ask you to tell me if this cannot be heard, so.
So I want a boy, right? And does this look like he's in a pool? No. It looks like maybe it looks like waves or a beach, right? Turn and open to the next page. And I want you to look at the words on this page. And I want you to see if you see any words that you can read, especially words that have the app word family. Do you see any app words on that first page? Let's look at the page with the boy sleeping. Do you see any app words on that page?
I do.
What do you see, Tim?
Nap.
Yep, there's the word nap. Do you see any other words, Zaylee, here that you know how to read? Kaylee, do you know any of those words that, on this side that you know how to read?
Sun.
Sun, you see sun. What else do you see?
Got.
Got. Do you see? Yeah.
Hot.
Hot. Yeah, there are a lot of good words. He. Yeah.
Red.
Red. Okay. Look at the page with the boy in the swimming pool. There's a word on that page that says what he's doing. Do you see a word that tells us what he's doing on that?
So real quickly, I was directing them to the word swim, which I didn't really have any background that they would be able to sound out that SW. And I was kind of pre-teaching it to see what they could do with it. And you can see they can. So we'll.
Page with the swimming pool guy. Look on the page with the little boy in the swimming pool. Do you see a word there? This word. Do you know what that word says?
Swim. Swim.
Yes. Point to that word swim.
Okay.
Everybody put your finger on that word.
So just to let you know, that's what a book walk looks like. You're talking to kids through words. So I chose this word fox and the fox, and I'm gonna, in my book walk, I would kind of talk about the high frequency words look and can. I identified some hard decodables and some easier decodables. So the hard decodables here are that word swim, jump, because it has the MP at the end, and duck. But the easier ones are right here. And I wouldn't expect them necessarily to know this word hide, so I might pre-teach that. Okay. Okay. So everybody, I'm going to give you this little link out in the chat, and you can go and actually tell you what, I'm going to show it to you first, and then I'll link it for you. Okay, so let me show it, and then I'll let you play with it so that you'll remember it. Okay, so here's Rivet, and I preloaded the Fox, and it's so cool. So let me turn down my mic because it's at 100, sorry. The fox. A fox can run. A fox can jump. A fox can hide. This is just a picture page. Look out, duck.
Out.
And it'll pronounce those words.
Duck.
A fox can swim, but a duck can fly. It shows us a little story. Okay, now I will chat that book out to you just so that you can play with it for a minute. Let's see here. I'm trying to find the chat. Where's the chat? Never mind, I'll find it. I'm glad you like this page turning. Let me send this to everybody. Sorry guys, I just chatted it to Penny McCallum. I'll give you, you can go to that little link real quick, and I'll just give you a minute to mess around in that app for 2 minutes. Okay, so this is your time to just kind of mess around and play and be excited about teaching once more. That's so important. Be delighted.
Hey Heidi, I think that was only sent to the panelists, not the attendees as well.
Okay, let's try again. Sorry guys, you have to play with this. So give me a minute. Thanks for your patience.
Nicholas.
Yeah, I can put it in there. Just 1 second.
I have to stop share in order to chat. It's just not cooperating.
Okay, it should be in there for all the panelists and attendees.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, go out there and check out the Fox, and then go to the home of Rivet and grab another book and open it, and then chat something fun you found. Up in the corner here, you can change the level. I'll give you a few more minutes. Actually, what I'm going to do is grab classroom screen, and I'm going to put my little timer up, and I'm literally going to give you 1 more minute to explore, and then I'm going to pull you back. Oh, you still have 49 seconds, but I changed the tone. All right, so you have about 10 more seconds. Bring it to a close. If you found something amazing that like matches a perfect science SOL or history, and you want to tell teachers, chat it to the group. All right. So that was Rivet. Just to let you know, what I'd have the kids do after reading it in class is a solo read with the link. I might also ask them, I'd listen to them, so open the mic up with a small group. Offline, I might have them use Flipgrid to read it and share that with me, or read with an adult. Flipgrid we'll talk about in just a minute, but it's very easy to use. Okay, so I am going to hit Flipgrid again with you guys. Only a few people grabbed onto it last time, and that might just be because it's already known, like everybody already knows about it. But if not, I'm just going to give you some more ideas. So there are lots of things you can do with Flipgrid for oral reading. One of the things that I would suggest doing is, after you've read a book, have the kids go out there and reread an assigned book or passage for their teacher. It's a great way to know kind of what's going on with them. The other thing you can have kids do with Flipgrid is, you know, in 2nd grade and maybe mid 1st grade, you would probably have children maintaining some independent reading that they do. So Cam Jansen or Junie B. Jones or something substantive. I mean, let's just face it, you know, with digital teaching, we just want to make sure we're covering the most obvious, basic things that are going to help kids. And those are reading a lot and writing a lot and learning how to spell and write words. And so we don't need to be fancy. Make sure every kid is still doing that substantive reading every day. But what you can have them do on Flipgrid is you can have them oral read a small part and then talk to you about the book and what they like about it. And then you can respond. You can also do a book talk. You can have the kids, you can give them a template for doing a book talk in Flipgrid. Flipgrid can actually also be used on a phone, so it's really nice even for kids who don't have a lot of support at home. And you can also, with Flipgrid, there's an option to record your screen, so you can share things on your screen. Once you open it up, the kids just kind of take off and do all kinds of things. Just a few tips with Flipgrid that I've found. I've actually used it with my undergrads, and one of the nicest things about Flipgrid is that it's a really great way to enhance rapport. Because you can really get to know them, and then you respond, and you can, you know, really connect with them seeing your face and everything. But you want to make sure you limit the amount of time those videos are. If they get too long, it takes way too long for you to watch them all and respond. So, you know, 3 minutes of video, if you've got 20 kids, that's just an hour to watch, and then that doesn't even count the responding. So, you know, you got to be careful. Also be really clear about exactly what you want them to do. I got a real wild range of videos when I asked my undergrads to just do a video talking to me about their, their reading, learning to read. I got one kid who literally video filmed himself on a game. Like he just did a screenshot of himself playing a game with him talking. I had another kid who did this very bizarre kind of let me impress the ladies kind of thing. So I started to realize I just wasn't being clear. I would record an example, and had I done that with these folks, it would have probably gone better. Ask them to respond to their classmates, because it's a good way for them to get to know each other. Remind them to try to tape in a silent space, and very important, respond in a timely fashion. If you don't respond in a timely fashion, then it starts to erode rapport, frankly. So, they're like, oh yeah, it just reminds them, oh yeah, I did that 3 weeks ago and she took forever to respond. And I made that mistake too. Okay, I would really love to challenge you next week to try this, but I'd like you to talk about an app that you have found or some way that you've kind of gotten some digital tools going in your own life. So I would love for you, this is the QR code, or you can use this join code right down here. You're going to introduce yourself, your teaching, and your experience. You're going to name a new teaching app that you're really excited about. And if you want to, you can do a screen record so that we can see it. You can just tell what the app does and why you like it, and tell us where you found it. Because really and truly, you all are going to be the inventors of success. Okay, I'm sure some of you already use quizzes, but I was going to just try to use this to show with a more advanced reader, like a second grader, you can use this as a read and comprehend activity. So we're going to read a passage, and then we're going to answer some questions. And this passage I found at ReadWorks. And ReadWorks is a free repository. I am pushing my computer so very hard that it does not know what to do. Oh, I stopped share. So this is the passage that we're going to work on, and I'll go back to sharing. So this is a ReadWorks passage, and again, I'm pushing my poor computer so hard I can't. There we go. Okay. So let me grab, where was my ReadWorks? Okay. And I lost my login here. Oh, here it is. This is, okay. So I am going to search for that. Actually, I can use it right now. So here's the passage that we're going to read real quickly, and you can see that it can be read for you. There's also a question set, which you can see I use in just a minute, but we'll read this really quickly. And I could do this lots of different ways. I could have the kids read it, or I could read it to them. Why don't you read, why don't you just go ahead and read this yourself, and then I'm gonna show you how I would use quizzes. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more minutes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little quiz. Now, this isn't how I would do this with kids. We would do a lot of talking about these different sections. I see a chat question here. Let's see. My chat is taking a very long time to load up, so you'll have to wait for just.
That one, Heidi. What is the little cat on the side of some of the books that talks? It wasn't audible on my phone for some reason.
I don't know. I don't know these apps as, you know, I've just found them. So maybe if you go in and experiment a little, you could find out, but that's a good question. All right, let's just say I was working with a group of kids and I'll watch the chat. Let's just talk about this one section right here. It says, how do some insects work together? This tells us that 3 different types of insects, ants, termites, and honeybees, have this thing in common. And there's a label that scientists give to this group of when insects work together in a group. They call insects that work together in a group what? Chat that to me. They call them, they describe them using this word when insects work together in a group. Now, this is what I would do with kids. I'm guessing some of you are not. And then I would say, yes, you're right. Social is the word for insects that work together in groups. And there's a name for the groups that they live in. What is that? I would ask them to show. Yep, it's colonies. So we learned that these 3 animals, termites, ants, and honeybees, are all social. They live together in groups, and those groups are called colonies. We also learned that these groups always have at least one queen who lays the eggs, and then the rest of the group does the work. So these groups of social insects in colonies have a queen, and she lays eggs, and the rest of the group does the work. Here I might talk about ants. What do we learn about ants? We learn that they can have more than one queen. We learn that there are 2 different types of worker ants. Ones that take care of the others, then large soldier ants that guard the nest. We learn that there are lots and lots, almost millions of ants that live underground in colonies. And then we learn about bees, and we learned that there's only one queen in beehives, in contrast to ants and termites. We also learned that there are ants doing things like making food and doing other chores that control the temperature of the, etc. All right, so what I did after doing some reading of that and really focusing, I used Quiz and I designed a quiz. So I'm gonna let everybody jump on this quiz. So you're gonna go to joinmyquiz.com. Give me a minute. You can do this on your phone too. Joinmyquiz.com, and you're going to use this enter code. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to get on this quiz, and then we're all going to play this quiz. So everybody go to joinmyquiz.com, and then when it asks you, give this enter code. Yay, Heather, thank you. Okay. All right, glad to see more people. I know there are people in cars and the like, but I'm excited. All right. All right, we're going to give you another 20 seconds to join. All right, anybody else out there? Last call. Now I'm going to start the quiz. So as you're playing, one of the things you can do, you've got your phone, you can go back to Bug Power and you can look at it. I did try to kind of emphasize some things that I thought would be found. You can set this up as a game too, if you want to, with teams. All right, has everybody answered? I'm about to end it. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to say boom. All right. Okay, if you want to make this a contest, it will have like a first and second and third. And it'll display results and all of that. I'm not going to do that because it's no reason to do that. But one thing that I would do is you can, I'm going to share my screen one more time. Thanks for being patient. I'm just overloading my little CPU. Okay. So it tells you, I would go answer them. According to the text, what do termites, ants, and honeybees have in common? They are all social insects. To organize the text, the author divides it into sections with subheadings. What does the author describe in the section with the subheading? How do some insects work together? All of the chores that worker bees do, the job of soldier termites, and ant colonies' underground nest, what social insects are. That would be the answer. And then this one was a little more complicated. You had to read some of these sections and then decide how ants and termites are different. And ants actually have more than one queen. Ants have soldier ants that protect the colony. I think that's the answer. Yep, okay. So that's just a way that you can use two apps. You can use quizzes and you can use ReadWorks to help you. All right, now I'm just going to kind of whiz through some different sources for text. There are tons out there. This one's really nice. This is not really a projectable app, but this is Beginning Reads at the Text Project. And these are, if you are in a situation where kids can't get online, you can print these out and send them home. And they're wonderful. And there's a lot of different things on there. This is an easier text. And then here's a much more difficult one. And that's at textproject.org. And there's a lot more stuff out there. Again, ReadWorks, you can find stuff you can print out, stuff you can use online. There are questions you can use. Most of you probably already know that. Rivet, which I just kind of showed you, is really wonderful. You can grab different books on that. I do think that if you've got a lot of students reading it, it costs. Here's another, this is a little bit like Rivet. It's very similar. It's called Unite for Literacy, and then you can find text on there. So this is a little, I'll tweet that. Here's another. Oh, sorry. So that's Unite for Literacy, so that you can use that one. So that's another place where you get small books for young children. So this is Unite for Literacy. It's similar. You can go through and look at different books at different levels, and you can filter by topics. And then some of them are narrated. And you can even have different, it's called Unite for Literacy because you can then have different languages. So this is really nice.
Yo veo colores. Yo veo colores en todas partes. Colores en el mercado. Colores en mis pies. Colores en mi caja de juguetes.
Des couleurs dans mon coffre à jouets. Des couleurs dans la rue. Des couleurs dans un panier.
Oh, I think that's so cute. I mean, that's really, really cool. Just ready to go books in native languages, and look at all the different languages that they have. I don't know that they're all translated into like Tagalog, but let's just see.
Mga kulay sa isang basket. Mga kulay sa languyan.
Isn't that cool? All right. Reading A to Z, which I shared. Okay, these are my last two shares. StorylineOnline.com. Do you guys know this? Oh my gosh. If you don't know StorylineOnline.com, you have got to get on it. So I've loaded Clark the Shark. These are fictional, really narratives that are read by actors and actors.
Hey everybody, welcome to Storyline Online, brought to you by the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. My name is Chris Pine, and today we are reading the wonderful book, Clark the Shark, written by Bruce Hale and illustrated by Guy Francis. Let us begin. In all of the wide blue seas, in all of the wide blue world, the top school for fish was the Theodore Roosterfish Elementary. And of all the fish, Theodore Roosterfish, the biggest and the strongest, was Clark the shark. Clark loved school, and he loved his teacher, Mrs. Inkydink. He loved to play upsy-downsy, spin-a-majig with his friends. Clark loved his life. School is awesome, shouted Clark the shark. Less shouting, more reading, said Mrs. Inkydink. Lunchtime is sweet, yelled Clark the shark. Munch your own lunch, said his best friend Joey Mackerel. Recess rocks, bellowed Clark the shark. You're playing too rough, Clark, cried the other kids. Yes, Clark loved his life with all of his sharky heart. But he loved everything way too much. He was too loud. He was too wild. He was just too much shark for the other fish to handle. After a while, no one would play with Clark. No one ate lunch with Clark. No one sat with him at circle time. Even his best friend, Joey Mackerel, said, "Cool your jets, Clark. You're making me crazy." One day, Clark asked Mrs. Inkydink, "What's wrong with everyone?" Mrs. Inkydink, she patted his fin. "Clark, sometimes you play too hard. You munch too hard. Gosh, you even help too hard. But life is so exciting," said Clark. "There's a time and a place for everything," said Mrs. Inkydink. "And sometimes the rule is stay cool." At recess, Clark tried to stay cool, but he pushed the swing with too much zing. "Oh, sorry," said Clark. "I forgot." "Yikes!" cried Joey Mackerel.
Okay.
At lunch, Clark tried to stay cool.
Lots of fun there. There are lots of books on that site if you have not already seen that site. It is fiction, right? One last thing too, I'll share this last thing. I have 1 minute. There's also a really cool new Netflix series called Bookmarks. And it is a celebration of Black voices. And it's very similar to Storyline Online with various actors and actresses reading books, but the focus is Black voices. And so it's really a great source too.